Woweurs! Welcome back to the channel. It is time to finally, once again, reveal a character that I've been wanting to reveal once again for a very long time. I am now reintroducing to this channel the savior, the last hope of her realm, Hikari. Hikari is the mirrored realm version of my main character of Hybrid's Tale known as Light. She is literally the good side. She is one half of Light, I should say. There is one half that you'll see later on in the video, and then there is another half, which is the one you are seeing right now, which is Hikari herself. She is more so, as you can probably tell from her gentle look, her appearance and everything as well, she is the more good-hearted version of Light. This character is basically one that was beloved by so many people of the community when I first showed her off. When I showed off her, Ember, and Guang, who was the other version of Light, y'all tackled those Mirrored Realm characters with so much love and support. So, honestly, that made me appreciate the character more and more, and as I've been working on the character more and more for Hybrid's Tale and my second story, which is the continuation for Hybrid's Tale, Legacy of the Hybrid, I've been loving this character more and more. She is literally one of my absolute favorites. Backstory is probably still hands down my favorite, along with Ember's and Guang's. Those three were just great, perfect even. And I thought I might as well just start reintroducing the character, so I mentioned that I was going to do Hikari and Light next. I know I accidentally ended up doing Harna because that was basically the Harna month of, like, her birthday and everything. And since I was late on the birthday, I decided I was going to do that, and now then Muso May ended up happening, and then here we are now, finally showing off the character Hikari. So, I'm going to get into it. This character, like I mentioned, was one that was very beloved by a lot of you who were here at the very beginning of this channel, when I was slowly starting to, like, show off the characters here and there, give their backstories. And again, don't know if I mentioned it, but I will be putting up a link in the description if you want to go check out the full scripted backstory of Hikari. It has actually not changed at all. It was just, in my opinion, way too good for it to just be gone. So I ended up just showing off the backstory in a video couple of years ago at this point, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it was in 2019 or something. I don't remember when I started doing those backstories, to be honest with you. But I think it was back in 2019. But yeah, there'll be a link to the video in the description if you want to go see the full scripted video of it. I'll be sure to put it on the top right video of the video as well. And I'll be sure to put it at the end of the video as well if I could find that, if I'm able to dig that deep for that. But yeah. You'll be able to see that, and I really highly recommend go checking out. Yes, it is an older video, but it is a very good scripted video as well. It was one that people really, really liked. So if you want to be able to see this character with more in-depth, then I highly recommend you go check it out now, after this video, so you can go get some love for that character. And I'll be sure to also do that when we get to Guang and Ember as well, because again, their backstories have not changed. Their backstories, in my opinion, were just too good. There might have been some tweaks to Guang's, but you'll at least get the large idea of, like, what kind of character he is and all that kind of stuff. But these characters I just went so in depth with that it was just impossible for me to not reintroduce these Mirrored Realm characters. So for those who are unaware, the Mirrored Realm is obviously, as it sounds like, a mirrored reflection of the Origin Realm, which is the realm that Light, Shine, Harna, Scene, all those other characters, Kuno, that I've shown before, and that is basically their realm, and then they have a second realm, which is literally, like I said, the mirrored reflection of the Origin Realm, which is called the Mirrored Realm, and that's where the characters like Hikari. I showed off another character, the Pirate Babe, called Shin Yang. I showed back then, I showed off Guang, Ember, and some other characters as well, and those characters are ones that are residing within that realm. So, as you can see, there's something weird there. Shin Yang is one who is basically the mirrored reflection of Kuno. Cinder and Ember are mirrored reflections, and so on and so forth. They have one version, but Light ended up having two versions of himself, because back then his mindset was so crazily out of place when it came down to humans and just his way of life and all that kind of stuff, the good, the bad, trying to either mix it together, try to separate them as best he can, and ended up giving birth to Hikari and Guang, which are the two versions of him. As you can probably tell from maybe appearance-wise, I'll be sure to put at least the old design of Guang up. We are actually going to end up completely changing his look. Not too much, probably just the hairstyle, make him look more look how kind of like more Light's age and everything like that. But you can at least get a rough idea of how he was originally shown off. But he's going to be getting a bit of a different look and everything, so that's going to be completely changed up in the near future. Right now, at this moment, we're probably thinking of doing Ember next. If not, I think she's already being worked on. I don't know, because like I said, I pre-record these as I'm recording this on Sunday because this was actually meant to be a stream day, but the internet has just been so atrocious lately that I decided not to do it. So hopefully that can be fixed by the next weekend. But aside from that, let's get back to the character. But yeah, so as you can see, one is like, you can tell there's an evil look to that character, and the other one, there's a bit more of a nicer kind of look on the other one. So, as you can tell, Hikari is definitely the, no pun intended, the light version of Light, and then Guang is the dark version of Light. By the way, Hikari, Guang, literally means light. That was the nice little trick there that I decided to do, was where, same thing with like Ember and Cinder. Wanted to give a similarity to those names as well. And Xinyang and Kuno's original name, Xinya, was also another thing as well, so there you go. I decided to do that kind of thing, tried to make that a little bit clever. Guang was light, Hikari means light, and all that kind of stuff, so thought that would be a nice little clever thing right there, nice little fun fact for y'all. But yeah, so as you can see, those two have their mindsets, but Guang was not always like that, and obviously if I'm trying to talk about Hikari, I got to talk a little bit about Guang as well. So, at the beginning of all this, Hikari and Guang and their little sister Ember, who was like a year younger than Hikari, but 2 years younger than Guang, Guang being the oldest sibling in the family. Now, contrary to Light's family, who had 3 other siblings, Guang ended up only having 2, which again was Hikari and Ember. So, and again, don't know how I'm going to do with that one. I don't know if I'm going to change that or not, but I'll see, because there is a hint of one of the other siblings in Guang. So, like, in terms of that, so I'm assuming maybe I'll have something where it shows, like, that could just show even more so of, like, how far down Guang went because of, like, this other person being a part of him or something like that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but for now, they do not have Guang does not have a 3rd sibling in his family. It's only Hikari and Ember, contrary to Light, who had 3 siblings in his. So, with that being said, like I said, Guang was not always like that. He actually was a very good older brother to Hikari and Ember. He valued his family over anything in the world. He loved them to death. He would do anything. He would die for them even. And same with his family, same with his parents. The parents were the same way. They had a great relationship. He would do anything for his parents because he always felt so grateful. He was a very kind-hearted person when things went down to it. He was always very kind-hearted, very nice, but he always had this deep hatred for humans. He never liked them. He despised them with a passion. He would always see, same as Light, he would see how judgmental they were, how racist, how specious they were. Yes, I'm implementing racism and speciesism into my story. I wanted to have obviously this is a story that can be very over the top, as like dragons and then people with like animal kind of things and everything like that, like animal features that I call Nitsu. Like let's take Benita for instance, who has like bunny ears and tail and everything. Those are those kinds of people. Harna, who has a fox tail and ears. Those are Nitsu basically, for those who don't know. Now, there can be people who are full-blooded Nitsu, which are basically Benita, who can never hide her tail and her ears. Harna is a halfling, half human, half fox, so she's able to hide those whenever she needs to, or whenever she just wants to. So, with that, now that saying that, yes, so as I was saying, so Guang was someone who saw all this like racism and speciesism from the humans, and they would get so mistreated, like Nitsu, Kaijima, even mystics, who are basically a grade above. There aren't a lot of mystics. There are very few mystics in the world because they have their own realm, their own mystic realm, and everything like that, so they have their own realm to worry about, but there are sometimes some mystics that just either get banished from their realm or just try to escape their realm because they're tired of all the orderly stuff and they want to be able to just live a life kind of like how humans or Nitsu or Kaijima do, basically. So they want to be able to just be on their own. But they also do not get very well loved. Like, mystics, because they are so high up on the food chain, I guess you could say, they basically are more intimidating than others. Kaijima are kind of the same way, but there are Kaijima who are weaker than most. So there are ones who are kind of like get mistreated here and there and just get talked badly to, or even get harsher punishments than humans would. Like, let's say like a human did murder. Let's just put this as an example. A human did murder, and that human is going to prison for years and years or something like that. If a Kaijima ended up doing it, a Kaijima would immediately be sent to death. They would basically get the eye for an eye thing, especially if it was on a human. If it was Kaijima on Kaijima action, probably wouldn't care as much. It'd be like, trash is taking care of trash. But when it comes down to them doing it against humans, which is also from time to time rare, but also at the time it's pretty also, it happens from time to time because they're getting mistreated, they get fed up with it, so they're like, or getting beaten up on or trying to get killed themselves, and they got to defend themselves. So they probably end up taking it a little too far and end up killing that human. They get killed for it. That's literally just how that kind of world is. People like the parents of Guang, Hikari, Ember, the parents basically kind of scrape by. Obviously, one's half human in Kaijima, and then another one's just full-blown mystic. But they still have their moments where they are kind of still mistreated here and there from like certain humans. It's a select few, but there are still some humans that kind of look at them like weird. So for those as well who want to know about the living history of, or the living conditions of like Hikari and Guang, that instead of basically being pirates, they basically end up forming more into their more kind of mystic kind of family ways, unlike the other parent who was more so a pirate. Kind of like how Light's family was, Light's family and everything. They were more so born off of like being pirates and everything. That's basically how they were. And so it's contrary to how Light is. That's why I said I wanted to be able to like give these differences to make the characters still feel unique and everything, but not like, but still have that hint of like their origin character in them. So that is where like that comes into play. So basically, they could like, it's basically saying Light could have had like this kind of lifestyle, but they decided, nah, you know what? We kind of want the more adventurous, kind of piratey kind of like feel to it. It feels kind of nice. Light was always a fan of like naval kind of stuff, so he was like, I'm cool with this. I like it. And so was both his parents. They were both like, I kind of like just, you know, kind of living on this kind of like life. And they were cool with it, and that's what they ended up doing. And then like basically how Light's whole area works is that he lives off of like a gigantic harbor. Like, there's ships connected to one another. Think of Chibi. They have ships connected with one another and everything like that, so they basically live off ships. Obviously, they have land surrounding them and everything like that, but off a big, gigantic lake or river or anything, they have all these things where basically just like, it's a giant harbor. They live off docks and boats and ships and everything, and that's the kind of lifestyle. But they like it. They love it. That's how it works. Not saying Hikari, Guang, and all them wouldn't like it, but they just preferred the more normal kind of style, just like, this mystic kind of just like likes living like this normal kind of life. I'm cool with that. We'll live like that. So it's basically what they ended up doing. So they basically kind of like, they kind of live in like the same remote area as they kind of would in like the Origin realm, but obviously the living conditions are different. So that's basically how those kind of living conditions are for those characters in the mirrored realm. But anyway, let's start talking about the downfall of Guang, Hikari, and Ember. So there happened on one night, one horrible night, where, and again, I'm giving the dumbed down version because, as I said, if you want to get the full scripted experience, then by all means, go ahead and go check out that other video that I'll put in the description with Hikari's backstory. You know what? I'll maybe put all three of their characters' backstories, Ember, Guang, Hikari, just so y'all can see them. And I'll be sure to do that whenever we show off Ember and Guang later on down the line as well. Ember might actually be pretty soon because we're actually working on her design next. So that'll probably be another character. Maybe after Light, we can do Ember next because, like I said, those three are the most loved / hated characters of mine. The reason why I say hated is because Guang is a villain, so he makes a good villain. People didn't like him, but they loved the character, like how it was done, and I really appreciate that kind of feedback. But yes, so that is the kind of thing like that people like really like. So if you want to go check out all three of their backstories, I'll be sure to put it down in the description so y'all can go check them out. So with that being said, let's talk about the downfall of Guang, Hikari, and Ember. So as I was saying, there were a select few of humans that did not like the parents of those three children. So what ended up happening? Well, let me tell you. A bunch of the humans actually ended up raiding their house overnight, and in big number. Obviously, if it was a small amount of number, they could probably, if it was like a small group, they could handle it. But they ended up rounding up a bunch of people because these were a bunch of people who were like drunk and just stupid and just very racist. So it was a bunch of all those people combined to raid their village to basically say, we're done. This is our realm. You trash do not deserve to be here. It's basically what they're doing. So they end up going off on this rageful, drunken rampage throughout the whole town. And of course, their parents were victims to it. So obviously, they were able to take out a decent amount of them. But at the end of the day, they were still held down pretty poorly. Guang, Hikari, and Ember, if any of you are curious, once they found out that their house was like, boom! Oh shit, someone's in our house. They immediately made the kids go hide in a secret little basement that they have underneath one of the beds. So they ended up doing that and basically being safe throughout all of it. And so the parents try to hold them off as best they could. They take out a decent amount of them, either really badly wounding them or having to resort to even killing them. But unfortunately, they just get so overpowered and they're in such a tight space that they end up just being killed. And obviously, as time goes on, everything quiets down. Guang, Hikari, Ember. Hikari and Ember, at this point, they're still children. They're scared out of their minds. And of course, when they all go see their parents dead on the ground, one of them still slowly dying, trying to give last words to the kids. Obviously, it scars all three of them horribly. And that, at that point, sets Guang into a massive bloodshot eye rage. And at that point, Guang literally just loses it. He ends up trying to figure out these select few people who are running it. Obviously, he knows that he can't control it. Like, he can't take out all of them. He's very aware of that. He's a very smart kid. He very much notices that he cannot take out all those humans as much as he would love to just kill every single one of them. But he knows for a fact he cannot do that. So instead, he decides that he is going to take out the leaders of those people who instigated all this crap and kill them specifically. So he would find out a couple days later, like, hey, who was the ones who were running these like crazy raids on the town? He would ask another human who was more sober, who was more kinder towards them, that they knew they had a connection with. He was like, I think it was like these people or something like that. And of course, Guang doesn't mention like, yeah, there's a reason why I'm doing this. I'm going to go kill them. He doesn't mention that to the person at all. Basically, it's like, all right, see you later. So Guang ends up basically tracking down them, taking them out one by one, and Guang, in the fit of his rage, ends up being someone who actually ends up having a family and kids, all of it. And Guang brutally, without any remorse, any hesitation, kills the wife, kills the children, and even kills the guy. He loses his mind and kills all of them. And he feels like this kind of thing, his hands trembling like, oh my god, I just did this. But at the same time, it's a realization like, I did this. I could do this. I could hurt them. I could kill them for what they all did. I could actually do something with this. So Guang, later on, as years go by, Guang ends up basically pretty much becoming a leader. He ends up being someone who speaks out a lot against humans. As he gets older and older, people actually end up hearing this. Kaijima, Nintsu, Mystics, the whole shebang. And all of them basically just warp over towards him. And now what's bringing to Hikari. Hikari still feels reluctant. Obviously, she's still kind of scarred and everything from the loss of her family. But she is someone who follows along with Guang. And I'm going to try to wrap this up as quickly as possible. Like I said, I want to give the dumbed-down version of this. So she ends up being with Guang a lot, and they basically have this whole campaign against the humans. As Guang gets older, he becomes the leader, basically the person who says, we're going to cleanse the world of humans. We're going to cleanse this whole realm, and if we have to do it in other realms too, if we see humans being terrible in those realms, we do it. But for now, we're going to focus on this country and wipe out these humans for good. Hikari knows that, like, alright, I get that we're upset, I get that we're angry, we're filled with rage and revenge, but not all humans are like this. So she ends up having a little bit of an accord with Guang, being like, alright, I don't want to kill them all. I just want to at least take some prisoner, maybe make them see the error of their ways. Like, this is what your people did, and this is what it resorted to. Was this the right thing? Guang at first being, alright, you do your thing, I'll do my thing, we'll do what we need to do. So he ends up doing that, but behind Hikari's back, he ends up killing every single prisoner that Hikari ever got. Every time Hikari tried to talk to one of those prisoners, the guards would not let her talk to them because they were already dead because Guang would kill them. He doesn't have any faith in the humans. So much no faith that he actually eventually ends up killing those that were close to him as humans. He just can't trust them anymore. These other Kaijima mystics and Nintsu instigating his mindset like, yes, they're right. These humans are not who they say they are. These humans all must die. So that's what he does. So he even goes after friends and everything that have any relation to humans. So he ends up basically killing them, and it also leads to Hikari, Guang, and Ember eventually having a campaign against someone that is very close to Hikari. And eventually, also, I will say they eventually meet Aki, but I have not really wrote that out yet, all that too much. But eventually, Hikari ends up having this very close relationship with Aki, who is the Mirrored Realm version of Harna. And then there's also this other person who is the Mirrored Realm version of Shine, who is called Lian Suo. Full-blown human, doesn't have any mystic capabilities like Shine does, because he didn't have to go through all that kind of stuff that she did. But this is where things go very south. At the moment, Hikari and Guang kind of already having their differences and all that kind of stuff. But now, at this point in time, Hikari is losing faith in her brother. Like, he's kind of losing it. I don't think he knows what he's doing. this is getting a little too far now. I don't think I'm okay with this any longer. So, what ends up happening? She ends up basically just saying, I can't let, because he ends up targeting Lian Suo, Lian Ming, who is the mirrored realm version of Shine's brother Chen Shun, killing their entire family. And Hikari is like, I'm done. This is enough. I'm losing too many people I love. They may be humans, but they are still people that are very amazing, still great humans nonetheless. These are people I love. I am not letting you take anyone else. So she tries her best to hold off Guang, who is about to kill Lian Suo. Of course, Hikari being overpowered because she's still like, I'm fighting my brother. Guang, not hesitating at all, completely shoves Hikari out of the way after overpowering her. Not hurting her, not harming her, but eventually does end up killing Lian Suo in the process. And that is when Hikari has the downfall herself, like, my brother just killed the one I loved. Because I'm having this thing where, like, the love between Light, Haruna, and Shine transcends over to the realms. So it's basically like Hikari, Aki, and Lian Suo basically having that kind of love triangle as well. I want that to show, like, love transcends over realms sometimes even, too. So that's the kind of thing that happens. She lost the one that she loves more than anything. That was one of the last few remaining people that she, like, loved with like, all her heart, and she ended up losing it because her brother ended up killing Lian Suo right then and there, right in front of her face. She tries to help him up and everything, try to get away from Guang and all that. Eventually, Aki ends up actually pulling in because he was someone who was helping in the aid with Guang's, like, movement and everything and getting rid of humans. And then Aki's just like, yo, let them go. Everything's okay. You did what you needed to do. Hikari defied you, yes, but she's still your sister. Do not do anything. Let her leave. I'll stay with you, though, because I know you trust me. I know we're great friends. Take it from someone who's basically like your brother. Let them go. Let me do this. So he ends up putting Hikari on the horse, smacking the horse on the ass. Horse goes off full speed, away from everything. Hikari still crying, weeping, and everything. Lian Suo unfortunately left there to bleed out and die. And Guang, at this point, agreeing with Aki, like, yes, you're right. I needed to do what I needed to do there, but you know what? I'll let my sister go for now. But if she comes back, I will not be so sympathetic with her, because she has defied me and she has completely just went against everything that we've been working for. So that basically ends up with that. Like I said, if you want the more full description of this, I'll be sure to put it down in the link. I'll put a link down in the description so y'all can go check it out. Really recommend it. It is amazing stuff that I really did like and enjoy doing. So if you want to go do that, by all means, go ahead and try that out right now. So again, Hikari eventually ends up leaving. She has no choice. The horse is at full speed. If she knows if she falls off, like, shit, I'm either going to get dragged by this horse or I'm going to die. So she has to keep going. She can't control the horse. Aki smacked the shit out of that horse so badly. So that horse is going full speed in the direction of Lian Ming, who managed to get away. And then her and Liang Ming end up trying to gather as many more humans as they can that are left in this country and try to defy Guang. And that is where they basically have to do an SOS thing, to where they have Light and Kuno, Scene, all of them from the Origin Realm come join them in the Mirrored Realm to help take out Guang for good and save this world, so they can make a world where all manners of life are able to live in peace together. So that is basically how Hikari is, and of course, she lost the one she loved because of her brother, and she is in full revenge mode as well. She doesn't mention it a whole lot. She tries to stay as kind-hearted as possible, but she also just shows that, like, I need to get my revenge for Lian Suo's sake. But alright, everybody, right then and there, like I said, this was to just show off and introduce the character, Hikari. If you all did enjoy it and you want to see some more of these characters shown off more frequently, then be sure to smack the like button right now. Comment down below your thoughts on the character. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you like the content that you see, be sure to hit that sub button. If you want to support the channel further than that, you could join the Discord. You can see where I show a lot of characters there in the Discord server. I have a whole section for it for Legacy of the Hybrid, Hybrid's Tale. All those characters are there if you want to go check them out. By all means, I highly recommend it. Kick ass. Character designs that were helped out by a lot of artists, especially the one Alley Cat. They were amazing to help me with this. Some other people here and there have helped me from time to time, but we've done a lot of stuff and showing off a lot of characters and everything. So if you want to go check it out, at the description, right at the top, is the Woweurs Discord server. If you want to support the channel further than that, you can join the Patreon. Like these amazing people that you see on the screen right now. You can join the $1 tier, $5 tier, have your name up on every single video. And I'll be sure to give you guys more priority when it comes to game suggestions, character choices for Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, or even Hybrid's Tale, because you guys help me with the channel financially. So with all that being said, thank you all very, very much for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Farewell.